Happy Halloween. Guess who's got a new mic? So, we're back. We're going to be talking about the painter again. Because I got a very lengthy comment and a very informative and well thought out comment from a one Blueple, who is apparently friends with Minaxa, who I'm now learning is pronounced Minaxa and not Menanza. I don't know where I got the second N from, but, dyslexia. I don't have it, but I have it. But that's that. Blueple left a very lengthy comment that I'm gonna go into in this one. Lots of good points that I can totally stand behind. Other ones that I have some quarrels with, but we're gonna talk about it here. Hey, I'm friends with Menanza. God damn it, I did it again. Minaxa, and I somewhat helped him with the urban spook video he made. I'm just gonna live watch this and leave my thoughts for all the points you make. It's Minaxa. I too thought it was Menanza before I met. And also, Minaxa's problem with the vulgar horror content wasn't that it was vulgar and shocking. Good shock horror can exist. It's just that urban spook does it to an extent where it's too blatant. In my personal opinion, one of my favorite uses of shock horror in the internet horror space is Lacey's Games, which is a digital horror project by Ghost Tundra. It delves into abuse-related trauma without being so in your face and disrespectful to actual victims, while also being fun and disturbing. Okay, I haven't seen Lacey's Games, but I'm open to seeing it. As long as it's not like 30 individual 30-minute videos or a bunch of parts or whatever. I suppose that's fine. I might watch it then, but Update, I watched it. Great stuff. It started a little cliche, but it got really grimy really quick. Good stuff. Too blatant. That's an interesting way of putting that, I suppose. I think that's kind of the point of it, that it is very blatant, whereas like you look in the Mandela catalog, that first one where it's like the body of that dead guy after he was killed by one of the skinwalker people, the aliens, whatever they were. I forget the name of them, but where they showed the dead body, but it's like a big black square over the face, where it's like kind of abstract. It's not very direct. I get it's part of the aesthetic, but it's not direct. And then there's nothing wrong with being indirect about it. I think that's an artistic thing that one could do to make that kind of thing happen. But I think with Urban Spooks, the Painter series, is that it takes out that middleman. It makes it more unnerving, so that you're not just like, oh, he died. Oh no. It's like, oh, he died. Oh my God, he died. Oh, Jesus Christ, he died.
Oh, he died for sure!
It's like, it's supposed to illustrate a sense of dread and fear. And it's a kind of dread and fear that I have yet to experience in anything else. And not to say that that's the way to go about it 100% of the time, all the time, every time. I'm up to seeing someone do kind of their own spin on the Painter series, or take heavy inspiration from the Painter series, but it doesn't have to touch upon the weird stuff that people don't like, because I think the Painter is a gold mine, and I think someone could tweak what the Painter did into something that's just as interesting but still palatable. As a matter of fact, if anyone wants to go out on their own and make their own kind of thing that's inspired by the Painter, go for it. Just don't make it boring. I've seen way too many analog horror that's just a SFM model of a FNAF animatronic tweaking out for like 5 minutes, and then a black screen with two glowing beady eyes. I've seen way too many of those. I don't care. I don't want to see that. I've seen that a million times. Please, interest me. Alright, I've already gone on too much of a tangent, but I'm going to continue saying this. Also, horror is and always will be subjective. I haven't met too many people in the analog/digital horror community that enjoy stuff like Urban Spook. In my opinion, if you disregard the sort of weird stuff that the creator of Urban Spook has done, and you enjoy Urban Spook's content for the sake of it being disgusting, no one's really going to stop you. Although I've seen people who needed Minaxa's video to help them realize that what Urban Spook's content contains. And I think that's perfectly okay. That's why the video exists. It's not to rip Urban Spook's reputation to shreds, it's simply to enlighten others. Okay, absolutely. I can see that happening. Like, hell, I've never played a FNAF game in my life, but my entire experience playing the game wasn't actually me playing the game. It was me watching so-and-so play the game. It was watching Markiplier or Jacksepticeye or whoever. I didn't actually watch those people, but, for example, those kind of guys. And that just doesn't apply to like just horror. It applies to everything. Like I'm not actually engaging with the media itself. I'm essentially simulating it, not even emulating it, just simulating the experience of playing the game by watching someone else do it. You know, and I could see why this kind of why Minaxa's video exists for that purpose. Maybe I'll watch the rest of the video if I'm feeling up to it. I haven't been bothered to, unfortunately, but you know, maybe I will. Who knows? But yeah, I think yeah. I that's yeah. Also, your whole tangent about the type of horror that makes you question your reality and makes you feel uncomfortable. While I somewhat understand it, I think the movie that includes the knife rape situation. That's the movie Seven, by the way, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Definitely watch that if you have the chance. It's amazing. But it was also very gruesome. But yeah, so take that for what you will. Anyways, it's vastly different from something like The Shining. Yes, that's. I wasn't trying to say those two were similar, but I was trying to say they're both pulling from the general scope of horror, as large as that is. Like The Shining is a very abstract movie. There's no telling what the actual threat is. Is it haunted? Is Jack Nicholson going crazy? Is it like an alien? Is it aliens? Or is it like drugs? Are they all hallucinating this kind of thing? Is it like none of that? It's not. It's abstract. It's very abstract, and like in a lot of ways, that analog horror is abstract in a sense. But like, but it's not horror in the same way that Seven is horror. Hell, Seven isn't really a horror movie. It just pulls a lot from horror, with the John Doe character, the Kevin Spacey character, with how just disgusting and gruesome all of his murders are in that movie, and how they all seem to kind of have an artistic purpose, how they all tie together with the common theme of the seven deadly sins, which in a lot of ways is very similar to The Painter, where each murder kind of has an artistic flow to it. Like no one murder is quite the same as the last, and they all have a literal piece of art attached to each murder, and it's either directly or indirectly inspired by Seven. I'd be really surprised if it was just a coincidence. Also, again, with the comparison to something mundane, Chief Keef does not sell something referencing something as problematic as a CSA victim, so I somewhat agree with your second statement. But also, instead of lazily shoving square-sized PNGs of your art onto shirts, you could have honestly maybe done something more creative, like a logo or something. Alex Kister doesn't sell t-shirts of Mark Heathcliff's dead body from Mandela catalog. Okay, that's his name. I was trying to remember what it was. But yeah, I think the merch side of Painter, I think, is just like a way to make a quick buck off of something that's popping off. It's getting a lot of popularity, getting a lot of views on YouTube, and when you have views, you have attention. So you gotta market that. You gotta capitalize off that attention. So, the merch thing is lazy. Could have been thought out a lot better. He could have made a new painting to put on a shirt that was just like of the murderers. He could have put the murderers on the shirt instead of the child rape victim. Yeah, that would have been better. That would have been so much better. Absolutely. And I feel like if you were gonna make a rant video about a video that someone made, you should probably finish the video before making your video. The video is generally short in comparison to Minaxa's other videos, so I feel like it isn't such a daunting task to simply finish it.
Yeah, I probably should have.
I mean, I only wanted to talk about the topics I watched, and that's why I didn't go any further than that. If it came across that I did in any way go further than the topics I discussed and jump to conclusions, sorry, I didn't mean to. I did not mean to do that at all, and I am sorry. For the record, I did make that video at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like it was all off the dome. It was just very like stream of consciousness, out the gutter stuff. But yeah, like I only vaguely remember recording it. Hell, I only vaguely remember uploading it as well. So I mean, that I'm not saying that's an excuse for anything I said in that, but take it with a grain of salt. For the record, as of right now, I did finish watching the Minax video, and yeah, he basically does say what Blueple goes on to say in the comments. So here we go. I will tell you what Minaxa sorta says that you missed. Urban Spook isn't such a great guy. He often gets angry at simple criticism, such as Minaxa's video, but I'll get to that in a moment. Minaxa shows off a screenshot that I took from an interaction involving Urban Spook and one of my friends on Twitter, in which he acts like a jackass simply because they said, maybe you should keep distasteful sensitive topics like CSA and SA out of your series. He responded by saying, and a bit of side note from me, I have actually seen this line before, and this is going to be the part where we disagree a bit, because I'll just get back to it after I say the quote of his quote that you quoted, that I'm quoting from you, that you quoted from him. Anyways, here's the quote. I absolutely respect your opinion. Shock value is obviously a main staple of the series, and I have no personal limits to what's okay or not. It will probably get worse, so I recommend staying away if it bothers you. Stay spooky. Yes, he actually finished it off with a corny catchphrase. Now here's the thing. Here's where we're going to disagree a lot. I personally respect this quote because it shows to me that he's not willing to be pigeonholed for anything. He's not willing to flanderize his own artistic endeavors for anyone else. And he strikes me as someone who, instead of just making content for content's sake, he's doing it to push an envelope, to advance the genre. And I respect the hell out of that because it makes me, as the viewer, know that where his intentions lie as an artist. He's not making it for fun per se. Well, he is, but obviously he didn't go into it making money as far as I'm aware or can tell. He's doing it for himself and for art's sake. So when he says it's probably going to get worse, that to me reads as he's going to push his own envelope as far as it can go. Not to say that invalidates any criticism of that statement, but that's how I see it. And no one has to like that. Hell, most people don't, as has been shown, repeated and repeated again. But it at least should warrant some respect on some level. Basically, Urban Spook lands somewhere between Morrissey and Quentin Tarantino. Now, considering your other points, I'm sure this doesn't mean anything to you. Well, it doesn't, but, fair assumption. Although Urban Spook pretty much blatantly admits he has no morals or common sense. After the release of Minaxa's video on the topic, Urban Spook took to Reddit to call Minaxa a cunt. And in my opinion, this was just a lousy response to criticism. He pretty much hypocritically said cry about it, so that was absolutely not a good look for him whatsoever. Yeah, that is lazy. That's really lazy. I'm glad you brought that up. I wouldn't have found out about that if I hadn't seen the video. So thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, that is actually hypocritical. That is lousy. I mean, if we're looking at this objectively, that is hypocritical. I don't think Urban Spook is on the kind of grounds to be like, oh, I respect your opinion, to then have like the openly personal vendetta so openly in kind of the same breath. It doesn't breed as the most consistent mindset. But yeah, that is hypocritical. Good point. Yeah, Minaxa also highlights his previous internet endeavors, such as edgy Newgrounds animation. And although that doesn't sound too bad, it sort of shows Urban Spook's immaturity, considering that he would have been an adult or late teens when making them. It should also be mentioned that Urban Spook is 30, trying to beef with a 21-year-old for making, in my opinion, valid criticisms about his little analog horror series. Gonna wrap it up here because honestly I spent way too much time on this, and I'm also not gonna finish your rant here because I'm also too tired of hearing bad takes. You know what? I brought that last part about myself. I can't blame you. But thank you for responding in general. I mean, glad to get a comment on my videos at all. So, thank you. Also, just to wrap up your last little thought right here. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you for that part right there where it's like Urban Spook's just kind of being immature here. This reads as like Morrissey kind of levels of douchebaggery. Urban Spook, from what you've described of him, from what you've described of him, he strikes me as a douchebag. Although that little detail about like Urban Spook is 30 years old trying to beef with a 21-year-old, it's like that's a 9-year age difference. Like in 50 years, that age difference will mean nothing. they're both adults at this point, so they both should be mature enough. I say should in regards to Urban Spook. They both should be, able to handle, conflict on their own terms by themselves. So I don't see. It's not like Minaxa's 15 or something like that. They're both adults, so they should both be able to make adult decisions, or at least Minaxa should be able to, because he seems to be the only mature one of the two.